Hi, my name's Jonathan Hicks. I'm back at the Dice Cup, and this evening I'm joined by
Tim.
Hey, Bob. And we've just finished playing Vinhos, I think is how you pronounce that. It's about Portuguese winemaking, essentially. It's a Vital Lacerda game, so there is a lot going on here. There's a big board, and you have a little player board here where you sort of acquire vineyards and possibly wineries, which improves the quality of the wine. You get cellars, and you're trying to produce wine, which you can then sell. You can sell it to the hotels for money, or there are various ways in which you can kind of cash it in for points, either by sort of exporting your wine, or there is a nice little fair that happens every now and then where sort of important wine type people taste your wine and you can get points that way. And in terms of how you play the game, it all revolves around this action board in the middle. So you have a particular worker, so in this case I was yellow, and each year there are 2 actions that everybody takes. Then there's a little banking phase. Now the bank's quite important, I'm going to go back to this in a minute, but essentially you might gain a little bit of money or lose some money in the bank here. Just be aware that cash is separate from what you've got in the bank. So 2 actions, a bank phase, and then all your vineyards produce. So with the actions, you can go to this space. If I move my guy here, incidentally you can move sort of 1 space for free, but if you want to move an extra space, that costs you a coin, and if you want to move to take an action where someone else is, you have to pay them money, so you want to avoid that if possible. So yeah, this first action, you get to acquire a vineyard essentially, and there's lots of different vineyards you can see down the side here, so you kind of pick the one you want. Maybe I want this one. You pay the money, this costs 5, and then you flip it over and add it to your board. So maybe I could put it at the bottom here, and this just kind of marks where it came from on the board here, but they give you kind of bonuses, which is quite nice. So this gives you a farmer, which improves the quality of the wine. This gives you a free wine cellar, which is quite nice. This gives you some extra sort of prestige points, if you like, when you go to the fair with it. So there's various special abilities depending on what kind of vineyard you get, and then you need to sort of improve the quality of the wine, if you like. So this is where you get the cellars, you pay money for the cellars. This is where you get the wineries, so a stack of them here, and they add to the value of the wine. So when this particular set of wine produces, I'm getting 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 for the winery, and if you acquire one of these, what are these called again, Tim? Enologists, then they make the wine even better, you get an extra 2 for that. This is the action space where you can get one of those, but you have to pay for those guys. You sort of upkeep each year for those guys. This one is where you actually go to the bank, and this is quite important because when you sell to the hotels, for instance, and get the money goes into your bank, but you can't actually spend money that's in your bank. When you go to the bank though, you can kind of switch any cash you've got with money in the bank, and that's kind of, you have to go there every now and then to get cash out, and then you can spend the cash on the various things you want to spend the cash on. This one here is how you sell to the hotels. So depending on the quality of the wine, I'll just give you an example here. If I had a 6, for example, from adding up the various things and producing it, when I come to sell it, notice the seller adds an extra 1 here, and it gradually ages. So if I were to sell it here, it would be worth 9. And then you kind of cash it in, and because it's red wine, I take one of my barrels and you stick it on the red 9, and you get that much money. So that's what you're doing there. But this one, you're trying to put it on this grid here, same idea. So if I had a 9, I could put it on this spot, or this spot, and you're getting a certain amount of points immediately. This is the victory point symbol, but at the end of the game, you're potentially getting victory points for majorities in here. So you want to go for points there. So the last main thing really is the fair. At the end of each set of actions here, we go to the fair, and you basically submit some wine. So again, maybe I decide to submit this wine here to the fair, and there's a couple of extra bonuses you get. I've sort of plonked it on this one here, but when you do this, you can add in these wine tasters, are they, or sort of critics? Experts. Okay, there we go. The last action I didn't explain on here is the getting the expert action. There's different experts which give you different abilities, but you can also use them when you go to the fair to improve your score on the fair. I'm not quite sure what's happening. Are you kind of bribing them?
They're talking it up for you.
Oh, okay, great. They're telling everyone how good it is. And that gives you points on this track. And this is not victory points, but at the end of each round, you see you've got 1, 2 and 3 here, you're scoring points for first, second and third place, depending on where you're on this track. So you kind of want to keep submitting wine to the fair to get this rating going up. Everyone says how good your wine is, and you get points there. Now finally, I should say, when you submit it to the fair, there are certain requirements each round, and the weather also changes each round, which might affect how much wine you manage to produce. But for instance, this round, you want to make red wine of quality at least 6 from certain regions. These numbers just correspond to the different regions down here. And that allows you to add these barrels onto these wine critics here, which is one way of getting extra actions, which is quite nice. So when you've got a barrel here, you can kind of use this action here, so I can get sell some wine, or I can go here and get another winery, but you kind of keep using this action backwards and forwards, and then towards the end of the game typically you're trying to put these barrels on these spaces over here for end game victory points. So it might give you victory points depending on how many cellars you've got, how many vineyards you've got, etc. So you're getting points throughout the game from these fairs, you're getting end game points quite a lot from these spaces here, and quite a bit of points for exporting your wine overseas. And the game most points wins. What do we think?
Yeah, I really like the game. To me, it feels really thematic. There's a reason for all of the things that you're doing, and also, if you're willing to read a paragraph at the back of the rulebook, there's a reason for the different benefits of all the regions on the board, and you might learn a bit about Portuguese wine, which is always nice. I really like the fact that it's really tight with your actions. You only get 12 actions in the whole of the game, so each one of them is really crucial, and that's what makes the bank so interesting, because you don't immediately have access to your money unless you go to the bank, but then if you do go to the bank, you've spent 1/12 of your game just doing nothing but move your money around. So I think it's leads you to have to make really tough decisions each time you make a turn, and I really enjoy the game. I'm always thinking throughout it.
Hey, Bob?
Yeah, I like the game. It's a good game. Mechanics-wise, for someone who, just like the mechanics of a good heavy Euro, it's a good medium heavyweight. Lots of things you can do. Multiple paths of victory and all that sort of stuff, and engine building. The theme, it does feel right. There's only 2 bits of that I dislike. I think firstly the fact that I did really well on the fair, but actually it doesn't really give you enough points. The exporting seems to be the way to actually win the game. And secondly, it's the bank. You have money which is in your pocket, and you have money in the bank. And you go to buy a vineyard, and you have to have the money in your pocket, and have this image of someone with the world's biggest wallet, or carting around bags with swag in, because it's all cash in hand. I do find that sort of confuses me a little bit. And the only other thing which I say is a downside is the actual board itself. It is a bit drab, it is a bit dreary. It feels like an older game than it actually is, just because of the board. It's all subdued colours. If you like that sort of thing, and it might be one of these which is very well chosen colours for colour blind people or similar, and maybe that's the reasoning behind it, but I just found it a little bit drab for me. That was it.
Rating?
I would give it a 7.5.
Okay. Tim?
For me, it gets 9 for the most beautiful board in all of board gaming.
Okay. Yeah, I enjoyed it. The theme doesn't grab me, I have to say, and I'm probably with A-Bomb on the artwork. It's okay, but it doesn't really stand out. But in terms of the game, I think it's a very solid design. There's loads of stuff you can do. As Tim says, despite the fact that you've only got 12 actions, each time you take an action, it's like, well, I could do this, or this, or maybe I should do this. And it can be a little bit prone to AP because there are so many things going on. But I had a great time. I was fully engaged all the way through it. And as A-Bomb says, that bank cash in hand versus cash in the bank thing is really tricky the first time you play it. Because as he says, you go to buy your vineyard and you're like, oh, I don't have the money. But I've got loads of money in the bank. Oh no, but they don't take money from the bank. You have to go and get it out of the bank first. It's like, oh, okay, so I've got to go waste an action there. It's one of those where you play the game, and after your first play, you're like, now I know what I should be doing. I kind of made all the mistakes in my first play, and I want to play it again. And I do very much feel like that. I get that a lot with Vital Lacerda's games. After I played it, I want to play it again. So, very solid game. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. All right, thanks for watching. That was Vinhos.